When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, a holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Looking for a degree that will propel your future? The University of Alabama in Huntsville is nationally recognized for academic excellence, a vibrant campus, and top-ranked degree programs. Graduates earn the highest post-graduation salaries in Alabama, making UAH the state's #1 return on investment. Find hands-on learning, supportive faculty, and real-world opportunities that set you up for success. Discover a university of possibilities. Discover uah.edu.
Welcome to another edition of Paranormal Nashville. Speaking of turn on, tune in, and not drop out, but find out. Sandman has dropped in on us. And Sandman is the host of ParaReality, a bi-weekly internet show sharing the same time slot on WRFN with Paranormal Nashville. It is scheduled on even Friday midnights, opposite to that of Paranormal Nashville. And the slogan, of course, is turn on, tune in, and find out. Sandman, welcome to Paranormal Nashville.
Thanks a lot. Tony, it's a great pleasure to be here. You know, it's feels kind of strange being the person in the hot seat instead of, where you're sitting. But it's also kind of nice, too, because I didn't have to spend hours and hours and hours putting a show together. So this is really going to be a treat.
You think I spent hours? Actually, I did. Okay.
Yes, of course you did.
Now, Sandman, you've been a certified ghost hunter and paranormal investigator since 2003.
Yes.
Through the International Ghost Hunters Society.
Yes.
How does one become certified through this particular organization?
Well, it's really very easy. All you got to do is go to their website. It's www.ghostweb.com, and they have a course that they will send you. It's a distance learning type thing. They will send you. They have actually 3 courses. The first one used to be called Certified Ghost Hunter, and they're calling it something different now. I can't remember what it is, but it's the same thing as a Certified Ghost Hunter, just they're calling it something different. And then the second level is Paranormal Investigator, and the third level is like something to do with EVPs, like EVP Specialist or EVP whatever. I don't
Which
know.
EVP is electronic voice phenomena, which is recordings of supposed dead folk.
Yes.
Now, you became certified in 2003, but your internet radio program, ParaReality, is modeled after the Coast to Coast AM show with Art Bell. And it actually hit the airwaves in October 2002 on the Alternacast radio network.
Right.
And it became one of the most popular programs on there.
Well, it did develop a small cult following on Alternacast. Alternacast was a very short-lived internet, we call it TJ side, TJ for Talk Jockey. It's a long story about how I got involved in all this, but I'll try and give you the Reader's Digest condensed version.
Okay.
I've always loved radio, and I always loved music, and I had an experience when I was a child that involved a ghost, and we might get into that a little bit later on. But I've always been interested in the paranormal and everything, and I used to want to be a disc jockey when I was a kid until I got old enough to find out that they don't really make a lot of money and they work all the time. And I was like, no way, I'm not going to do that. So I did something else, and I don't make a lot of money and I work all the time. So I should have become a DJ. But I just kind of fell into this internet broadcasting thing by accident. I actually found the Alternicast network totally by random, doing a search engine for something one day, and I just decided to do a talk show because it was radio, and that was a talk radio site, and to be honest, it was cheap, and that was what I could afford, and I wanted something that was different than everybody else, because most of the people on that site were doing like comedy shows or sports shows where they would talk about things like wrestling, or some of them would even like do the pay-per-view event. They would rent the pay-per-view and then do like live commentary while they were watching the pay-per-view, so other people could listen. It was really weird. It was a lot of that and stupid
You got to be
telephone.
a real wrestling fan.
Yes. And so I wanted something that was a little different than all that comedy and BS that was going on over there. So I thought, well, I've always been interested in the paranormal, and I've always read books about ghosts and stuff like that, and I like to watch the movies and stuff. So
Right.
I thought, well, I'll do a show kind of like Coast to Coast AM. Had known about Art Bell's show for a long time, and actually wasn't able to listen to it until I moved up here to Nashville. And I always wanted to listen to the show. Finally got to hear it, loved it, and said, okay, I'll do this. And I was only on the air on Alternicast for just a short period of time, but I actually cracked into the top 30. I was like the number 30 ranked talk show on Alternicast, which I don't know how many there were, but there were a lot, yeah. And Alternicast just kind of yanked the plug on everybody. A lot of people, including myself, lost money on that deal because they closed down and took everybody's money. That was really nice.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, really nice.
Now, when did you make the move to Live 365 Radio Network and WRFN?
I made the move to Live 365 probably about maybe 6 months after Alternicast shut down. I had thought, well, it was fun. I tried it. It was okay, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And I just something in me just wasn't satisfied. So I decided, well, I need to look into something else. And I knew about Live 365, but like it was a little bit more expensive than Alternicast. Like I said, the main reason I went with Alternicast was because of a money issue. But I was in a position where I was making a little bit more money, and I just bit the bullet and said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I made the move to Live 365. And since then, the show's really taken off. Yeah, I mean, I have been really shocked, amazed, and quite pleasantly surprised at how well the show has done. I mean, I'm not, a number one show in a worldwide phenomenon. I'm not trying to make it into something that it's not, but it is a moderate, very moderate success, more than what I ever thought it was going to be. And I am really surprised. I am actually, there are thousands of people who broadcast on Live 365, and it's all broken down into genres, which is too complicated to explain here.
Right.
But in my genre, my primary genre, which is talk, I'm actually the number 15th ranked show on Alternicast as far as talk shows go. And for it to be an off-the-wall topic of, that not isn't mainstream. Let's face it, this is what we do here is not mainstream,
Right.
And for it to be number 15, and I'm constantly, dropping down or up or whatever. The highest I've ever been ranked was number 14, I think, and I consistently in the top 20 right now. Right now, knock on wood here, I'm number 15, and hey, it's
And
pretty
really,
good.
you're just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on Alternicast. This is my second year. I started in January of 2004 on Alternicast, and here I am.
Now, you mix a little rock music
Yeah.
with your show. What kind of rock music do you play?
Oh man, just any kind of rock music.
Is it like heavy metal or?
I like. Well, here lately, I have been in. I would say the last year or so. I've been a big Black Label Society fan, and unless you like that kind of music, you'll have no idea who Black Label Society is because they're not very, very mainstream. But I play some of that stuff. I'm a big Van Halen fan, especially Sammy Hagar days. I play a lot of Van Halen. I've got a big CD collection full of rock music. And it's not just rock. I mean, I play some 80s pop and I play some classical stuff. I get emails all the time. It's really strange, but I get emails all the time from people who says your taste in music sucks. And I'm, and they say you should play something different because your form of music doesn't fit the show. Well, what form of music fits the show like this? I don't know. I wish someone would tell me. But if someone says your music sucks, I'll always email them back and say, okay, what do you want me to play? And if I have it or something close to it, I'll play it.
Sure.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
All right, let's cut to the meat and potatoes of this thing here. Okay, your experience in the paranormal field has been largely through a lot of extensive research that you've conducted. And in the process, you've developed some personal theories on ghosts, spirits, poltergeists, and cryptids that go against some of the more traditional beliefs out there. Could you share some of those theories with our listeners?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. First of all, when I say I've developed them, I'm not going to take credit for saying, okay, this theory is mine and I put it out there and everyone's following along with it. I have kind of doing all this research, I came up with some conclusions of my own, and after I came up with these conclusions, and I thought, hey, this sounds better than what I have learned, and I started doing a little bit more research, I found out there are other people out there who already thought this way before I did.
Right.
And, I thought I was onto something. I thought, oh, yeah, I've got this, and, it kind of burst your bubble where you're patting yourself on the back going, yeah, I'm a super genius here.
Yeah.
And someone else already has it. But the way that we are thinking, and I say we, of the other people who feel as I do, it's starting to catch on a little bit more. And
like-minded individuals.
Yes, great minds think alike, they say. I guess in my case, we'll make an exception. But basically, the theory it goes pretty much like this. Most people will tend to lump ghosts, spirits, and poltergeists, and sometimes even what they call entities, into one category, one lump category, and they call them ghosts. Well,
and you just
they're not all
accepted a
them.
position with an e-zine called Dark Recesses Press.
Yes.
And you're writing a series of articles that
Yes, I
actually
am.
explains the differences between ghosts, spirits, and poltergeists. So what is the difference?
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for bringing that up, by the way. Now I can add to my resume, I'm now a published author.
Right,
and
absolutely.
It would be nice if I were getting paid for any of this.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Well, someday maybe you will.
Yeah, maybe. Well, the article, actually, Dark Recesses just came out with their first edition this month. It came out on the 1st, and you can find it on the web at www.darkrecesses.com, and it's the first it's probably going to be about 3. It's the first in a series of 3 articles, and basically it's like this. Like I was saying, most people tend to take ghost, spirits, and poltergeist and lump them into one category, and they say all these things are ghosts. And what myself and a lot of other people in the paranormal community are saying is that, no, these things, they're not all one category of ghosts. They're totally different. They deserve to have their own separate category.
Right.
And the reason we're thinking this is very simple. Let's take a ghost. People see something, white sheet going, ooh, boo, whatever. They say, oh, that's a ghost. Or they hear something, it's a ghost. Something goes flying across the room, oh, a ghost did that. So forth and so on. Well, a ghost, what myself and a lot of other people believe, is that a ghost is like a recording. Like you record something off, you record your favorite TV show on the VCR, or you TiVo it, you go home and you play it.
It's like residual energies.
Residual
It's a
energy,
loop.
right.
It just keeps repeating.
Right. You're watching the football game, and the quarterback throws a bad pass and it gets intercepted, and you go, what are you thinking? Well, he can't hear you. He can't interact with you. It's the same thing with a ghost. It's a recording of residual energy. If someone has done something repetitive for a long period of time. I'm not talking about a couple of weeks. I'm talking about months, years. Someone has done something repetitive for a long period of time, they will leave a quote-unquote energy recording of themselves there. And when they die, you can sometimes see that energy recording. And just like a VCR tape goes bad the more you play it, the energy not goes bad, but it starts to fade in time.
Yeah, I've heard that some of the battlefields up in Murfreesboro, you can see some of those entire battles played out.
Yes. Another part of that theory is not just someone has to do something for a long period of time, but if there was a lot of emotions involved, if it was like high stress or such as being in battle or something like that, you can, pick up that energy recording. The South, where we're from, and I'm actually not from here. I'm from deeper south in Alabama, if you couldn't tell by my accent. The South is famous for having these types of hauntings where people see a figure, it's the same figure dressed the same way, doing the same thing at the same location every time they see it. And a lot of these are Southern belles who were pining away for their Confederate soldier who left before they could get married or left right after they got married. The lady died brokenhearted because her lover never came back, he was dead or whatever. So not only did they go like to the second floor window and look out all the time for the whole entire Civil War, but there was also a lot of emotions involved there. And so that's going to leave some type of residual energy, and that's what we're seeing. You can't, when you see a ghost like that, you can't interact with it. It's not going to interact with you. It's because there's nothing there to interact with. It's like I said, it's like seeing it on, recording your favorite show on TV and sitting back and watching it. You can't interact with it.
Right. Now, are you familiar with the Lady in White, Adelicia Ackland's ghost? Supposedly it haunts Belmont College.
Yeah, Belmont. Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So that would be an example of a ghost.
To the best of my knowledge, having never seen it, or I've never been to, driven by Belmont College, never been in there, but to the best of my knowledge, what I can understand, yes, I would say that that's probably going to be a ghost.
So ghosts are not interactive.
No,
but
you will not
poltergeists and spirits, are they interactive?
Poltergeists and spirits are interactive.
Okay.
And what sets poltergeists and spirits apart from ghosts is, now they are also in their own separate category, but let's take a spirit next. A spirit is an interactive thing.
Okay.
You're not always going to see a spirit. You can, but you're not always going to. And you can interact with a spirit. Those are the things that you're going to get stuff like EVP recordings off of.
Right.
Say, why are you haunting this house? Is there anyone here? And you play it back 30 minutes later and you hear some sort of scratchy voice or something on there. That's like a spirit. It's a lot of people would term it, excuse me, an intelligent type haunting.
Right.
It's because it's a spirit. When we die, we don't change who we are inside. We carry all of our beliefs and everything with us, and we go to that other plane of existence, whatever that may be. And some people, for whatever reasons, don't go into the light or whatever. They stay around because maybe they have a loved one they want to watch over, they have some unfinished business, whatever the reason, and they stick around, and we can interact with these things. Now, we're not going to sit down and have a conversation like you and I are, but we can interact with these things. We can get EVP recordings. We can get full or partial apparitions sometimes, although that takes a lot of energy. We can get, you've heard of the automatic writing type stuff?
Yes.
We can communicate through automatic writing. Psychic mediums can interact with these spirits. And it's just basically, like I said, an intelligent type haunting where you can interact with whatever it is.
And this is also associated with people that have died.
Yes.
So it's earthbound spirits.
In my opinion,
Kind of
yes.
like on the new show, The Ghost Whisperer, with
Haven't
Jennifer
seen that
Garner.
show
I
yet.
saw it tonight. It was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. Kind of cheesy,
No.
She's standing there talking to the twin of a girl that's alive but in a mental hospital, and her twin sister is trying to, help her get out of there, and she's wanting to get her boyfriend to come see her because her boyfriend gets along with her parents and they listen to him. So if he says that she's getting better, then maybe they'll release her. But okay, now that's ghosts and spirits. What about poltergeist?
Poltergeist, once again, a totally separate category. Poltergeist, of course, is German for noisy ghost. And that's what we used to think that a poltergeist was just a ghost that was making a big fuss, making a big racket. Now the theory is becoming a little bit more popular that these things might actually be some sort of psychic energy from direct coming out of an individual. And usually these individuals are going to be adolescents. You were a teenager once, so was I. That's a time of a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of angst. You don't know who you are. You're trying to separate yourself from your parents, but yet you need them at the same time. You know everything. You don't want to listen to the adults, but you need to have their guidance. And, you've got a lot of inner turmoil going on. For some reason, poltergeist activity seems to center around adolescence. And when you're going through that time in life, puberty, you've got a lot of, like I said, inner turmoil, angst, and for some reason, sometimes this psychic energy is being projected outside of the person, and it forms what we're calling a poltergeist. And if you notice, the poltergeists usually are very, they're very mischievous. They like to, of course, throw things, make a lot of noise, things disappear. You can just look at count after count after count of items that, I placed that cell phone there on the desk, and I walk off into the next room. I come back and it's gone. I look for it for 3 days, and I come back 3 days later and it's bam right there on the desk where it wound up, or it winds up in the car or somewhere. Or there's even lots of cases where stuff has just fallen out of thin air, and for some reason these psychic manifestations come out of these adolescents. And when the conflict is resolved, or they get better or whatever, or this anger goes away, you oftentimes see that the haunting stops. And the haunting is usually centered around that one person. When they're not there,
it doesn't happen.
There's nothing going on.
So if your house is haunted, you might want to check your teenager.
Yeah, really. You may want to check your teenager. As a matter of fact, if you do have something like this going on, people in the past have tried to exorcise it, and it's not going to work. So don't call your priest. You might need to call someone such as myself or you, and let us try and help you out, and let's see what we can do from that angle before you hit the religious angle. And I'm not anti-religion. Don't want anyone to think that I'm anti-religion. But some priests or your local preacher or whatever, they're not equipped to handle stuff like this, and most people think we're kind of weird anyway,
right.
And so if you call them up and say, hey, my teenage son or my teenage daughter is possessed by a ghost or something, can you come exercise? They're not going to pay you much attention, I don't think. Whereas someone in our community, we would probably tend to put a little bit more emphasis on it.
Right, so call Ghostbusters instead.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, the Bell Witch was considered a poltergeist phenomena by a lot of researchers.
Yes.
Do you know much about the Bell Witch story?
I've lived here in Nashville for 3 years now. God, I can't believe it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years, and I haven't made it out to the Bell Witch. I've tried a couple of times. Haven't made it out to the Bell Witch Cave. Read a lot of stories, went to the official internet site and stuff like that, and I even saw the movie. There were 2 movies that came out last year. One was supposed to be pretty good, and one wasn't supposed to be all that good, and unfortunately, I saw the one that wasn't all that good.
Okay.
But just from what all I know about the Bell Witch, it does have manifestations, it does have qualities, rather, of a poltergeist haunting, because it was a disembodied voice. People got physically harmed. Objects and stuff were thrown about. Stuff went missing. There supposedly the Bell Witch even killed John. I think John Bell was his name. Supposedly the Bell Witch even killed John Bell, and then afterwards kind of just disappeared. So you could lump that in with a poltergeist. I would myself personally, I would just think that if you believe the stories, if everything is true, which, I mean, there are many stories and they're all pretty consistent.
Right.
That's consistently the same. I would say that the Bell Witch would be more of a true haunting in a sense that, it was a spirit. It was that you could interact with. It would talk to people. It would tell them things about themselves that only they knew. Stuff like that. It
would go to
the
church
future
on Sunday and tell everybody what the sermon was about. People that didn't go to church.
Yeah, exactly. So you could put that in one or two categories. You could put that in a spirit, or you could put that in a poltergeist. Lots of people lump it in a poltergeist because there was bodily harm and stuff. Myself, the way I see things, I would say that'd be more of a spirit type haunting, more of a true haunting.
Of course, they did have a teenager. They had Betsy Bell to blame it on, but it was such an amazing period of time, and it lasted so long. I mean, people from all over the world came and experienced the phenomenon. I know Andrew Jackson supposedly drove a team of 6 white horses and came up to an invisible wall he couldn't get past. And
turned around and went home and
flipped his horses over and everything. There was a recent Bell Witch movie that premiered or is fixing to premiere. Maybe it hasn't even premiered. It may be next week at the Ryman Auditorium. You heard about that one?
I haven't.
Yeah.
That's a surprise to me.
Yeah, you can go to bellwitchmovie.com and find out the details.
Maybe that's the one that I was thinking that came out last year that was supposed to be pretty good.
Right.
Maybe I just heard about it last year. But I know there's 2 Bell Witch movies. One I did see last year at the Bell Court. I love that place, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Plug for the Bell Court. Save the Bell Court, everybody. Okay. But I went there. Actually, I had complimentary premiere passes to go to it, and it was very low budget. I mean, extreme low budget type movie, and I just eat low budget movies up, man. I love them, but I kind of enjoyed it, but it didn't get a lot of good reviews. I think you can find that on DVD, by the way. I know they've got it at Tower Records.
Okay. Are you familiar with what some of the ghost hunters call predator effect entities?
Vaguely. I haven't done a lot of research on predator effect entities. I know a little bit about it, but not enough to speak intelligently.
Right. I had a sighting out at Priest Lake that fit the description of a predator effect entity. I didn't even know the term predator effect at the time, but it was basically a 3.5 to 4 foot tall entity that looked just like in the movie The Predator. You could see it when it moved, because you could see the background and you could see its arms and head and shoulders, and when it was running up the trail, you could see its head bobbing up and down. But that thing really, really frightened me. And I mean, I've had sightings of Bigfoot, and I chased after Bigfoot. But this thing, I went the other direction, and so did it. But it made fear run through me, and it, you've heard the expression. I almost blank, the word we can't say on the radio here that we were discussing earlier.
Yes. Oops, I crapped my pants.
That almost happened, yes. It literally almost happened because a wave of fear just ran through me. And I think there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of invisible entities. Like you said, there's more than just one kind of phenomena.
Yeah.
And I have a weird off-the-wall theory about Bigfoot.
Okay.
Of course, a lot of the Bigfoot researchers only want to think of it in terms of unknown primates, and it's a species that's out there, and it's just an animal.
Gigantopithecus.
But thousands and thousands of reports, of Bigfoots disappearing in thin air or walking into a blurred circle, and Robert W. Morgan is a famous Bigfoot researcher, and several other researchers have claimed that the Bigfoot creatures like to hang around cemeteries, and so maybe some of the ghost hunters are being toyed with by some of these Bigfoot that are out there in invisible form, just messing with them. But I mean, have you heard of any ghost hunter researchers citing any Bigfoots around cemeteries or anything like that?
I haven't heard of anybody citing an actual Bigfoot around cemeteries. Now, I have heard of people who've had stuff like rocks or something like that thrown at them, which the Bigfoot is notoriously famous for throwing stuff at people. So that could explain it. I've heard of people who say that there's some sort of interdimensional creature from another dimension, and they have the ability to swap worlds or whatever, planes of existence at pretty much at will. And of course, there's always a theory that they're from, just an alien creature from another planet and stuff. I really don't.
That's pretty far out there.
Yeah, not that I don't. There's got to be life on other planets.
Sure,
if the universe is too big, and if you think that we're the only form of life in the whole universe, you're pretty ignorant as far as I'm concerned. Now,
are they arrogant? Yes.
Yeah. Are they coming in here in UFOs, spaceships, and beaming us up and kidnapping us in the night and doing sexual perverted things and planting chips in our anus or whatever? I don't know. I really don't know, but I think that there is life on other planets. You don't have any
first-hand experience on that?
No, I certainly don't. Now, I have seen a UFO. Now, I'm not saying it was from another planet or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't know what the heck it was.
Right, an unidentified flying object. A lot of people say, or they associate UFOs with extraterrestrial craft. Right. But really, it's just an anomalous phenomenon that it's unexplained.
Exactly.
And it's a mystery, and that's the same truth about all paranormal phenomena.
Yep.
No one seems to be able to quite nail it down and exactly probe deeply enough to no one's went out and captured a Bigfoot. No one has brought an alien and put him on TV yet. So.
Well, you're forgetting about that alien autopsy thing that came out several years ago.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that was perfectly legit.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't. Of course, you knew that, though.
Yes, I heard that, too. Okay, now in your last program, you discussed something really strange. Speaking of mysterious things, you discussed the appearance of a strange oblong, Zeppelin-like airship, as well as contact with the pilots, who dropped messages from the sky or left notes in obvious places so that people could read them. Okay, tell us that story and what your own theory is as to who they were and why they did this.
Well, it was they're called the Mystery Airship Pilots, and it started at the turn of the 20th century, back in right around the 1890s, 1900 era. It started out actually in London. There were people who sighted this big thing in the sky, and from all descriptions, it was long, didn't make much of noise, and it was piloted by humans. And all descriptions point towards it being a blimp, what they called Zeppelins. And they were sighted not just over the skies of London, but all over the world. Mainly, they were seen mainly in London, but all over the world, people were sighting these things. And some of them were even sighted here in the States. And on more than one occasion, the craft actually landed. Now, they had big searchlights on it, and it would, most of the time, they were seen at night, or either just at dusk or dawn, should I say, dusk, dawn, or night, never during the broad daylight hours. And they would shine these big, bright spotlights down on people, almost like they were targeting them or something, And on occasion, they would land in like a clearing or a big field or something like that, and they would come out, and people would be coming to see what the heck this thing was, and they would talk with the people. But my research hasn't found out anything like, of course, the first question any rational human being would ask was, what the blanker is this? What are you doing here? How did, but I never found any information that said, hey, I'm John Smith, and I built this thing, and I'm testing it out. I never found any actual information out of conversations like that. Most of the time, what I found out was that, the people just kind of talked to them and left, and that was really it. They never found out who they were or why they were there. But for some reason, there were some people here in the States, in not Mississippi, I can't remember where it was from, but there were some people in the States that found like little leaflets, pamphlets that looked like they'd been dropped from the sky, because they were all up in trees and everything. and on the ground, and these little flyer things were basically just a little blurb, a little paragraph that says, hey, we have built this airship. We've been flying for X number of days. This is who we are. And I can't remember the guy. I would have to have my notes in front of me, but it listed the men's name, and they were from Mississippi, of all places, Mississippi. And there was also
people from Mississippi can't fly.
People from Mississippi can't drive either. Let me tell you.
Well, we can't talk here. This is Nashville.
Yes,
so.
That's true. That's true. But there was even something that was found in one man's journal that stated that he had been working on this airship, and gave times and dates when he had launched it and flown it and stuff like that. So there's never any, strangely enough, as we were just talking about UFOs and stuff, and,
right.
and you would think, everybody was saying, it was these are aliens or whatever. No one, in everything that I found out, no one said, hey, this is something from another planet coming down to visit us. No one ever said that. It was never even thought, not for 1 second, that this was an alien spacecraft.
Of course, they had the pamphlets to explain it. And what did the people actually say when they came down? You said they had some conversations with people.
That's what I don't know exactly
Okay.
what the conversations were. I just know that they had very brief conversations, but I never really was able to find any literature that had like a transcript of what was said.
Okay, we kind of glossed over a few minutes ago about your own personal UFO experience. Tell me about that.
It's not a lot to tell, unfortunately. Last July, I had it was actually I had two guests who came on my internet show on Live 365. Little plug there. ParaReality Radio, Live 365. Check it out. I've been doing the show about 6 months, and I hadn't had any in-studio guests at all. And so I actually had two people who had agreed to come on the show. At the same time, they were two former Marines, and they were going to tell some of their strange experiences that they had while they were in the military, which actually turned out, I know this is kind of getting sidetracked, show ran long. It was a really great show, better than I thought it was going to be. But I was sitting, I think it was the night before the show, and I had these two gentlemen over at my home, and we were sitting on the back porch, and it was late night. I mean, very late night. And both of them had their backs to me, and we were just sitting around talking, and I saw something appear, kind of, the man that was sitting in front of me, kind of facing him, was over his left shoulder to my right, and it was a round looking object that was bright white, like the color of your cup there. I mean, it was like so I say the color of his cup, and you're going, what does that look like? This is radio. Well, imagine a blank sheet of paper, a computer printer paper or whatever. It looked like that, and it was round looking, and there's this big flash of light that lit up the sky behind this guy's head like lightning, like sheet lightning, and the thing went away, just left. Never made a sound. Never saw any red flashing lights like it was a helicopter or an airplane or anything like that. And, I mean, when it left. I mean, gone. Out of there.
But you did see it leave. It didn't just disappear. I mean, it didn't just take off so fast that it was gone. Did you see it shrink? Did it go away? Or did it go from, side to side?
It looked like when it took off, it took off so fast that it went from being round to kind of being oblong, And I'm not saying it turned that way. I'm just saying that's it. When it took off so fast, that's what it looked like, and it just went out. And I jumped up. I was like, did you see that? And he said, what are you talking about? he totally did not see anything. Nobody saw anything but me. And, I don't drink. I'm not, so I wasn't, partaking of any substances,
Right.
Or I was stone cold sober. And I don't know what it was. I have no idea what that thing was.
So it was unidentified.
There you go.
There you go.
UFO. It was flying, and I don't know what it was, so it's a UFO.
Okay, now you were talking about you were interviewing some Marines on the show. Was that
Yeah.
the same show you were telling me about that involves a conspiracy theory, or
Yeah.
you interviewed a gentleman that had found some top secret documents?
Same show, yes.
Okay, yeah, tell us about that, because that's pretty intriguing.
Okay. One of the gentlemen, who shall remain nameless for obvious reasons, both of these guys served stints in the Marine Corps. This particular gentleman, at the place where he was stationed, he was in charge of a particular area. I'm trying to be a little vague with it, and yet so it will make sense at the same
Sure.
time, because I really had to push him for him to talk about this. He really did not want to do it. I had to pretty much twist his arm and hold a gun to his head to get him to do this. So, and just in case he's listening, but the place where he was working, he was in charge of this one area, and he was not an officer. He was not high ranking, but he did have a certain set of people he was in charge of, in a certain area that was his, that he was in charge of keeping. And one day he just happened to see some papers on his desk, and it had to do, actually he didn't know what it was. It was on his desk. He thought, this is for me. He picked it up and he started reading it, and it had to do with the HIV virus and AIDS. And basically what the paper said was that the HIV virus was, or is, should I say, a government experiment gone horribly wrong. And it's not that the government released it, on the world or whatever. It was just they were doing a controlled experiment in somewhere overseas. I believe it was Africa, in some little village or town there, and they were actually doing a controlled experiment and had certain people of that place infected on purpose, and it was supposed to be very isolated. They were trying to find out what this virus would do to a human being. And I know
nice.
I know you're looking at me like, oh my God, I'm just relaying the info. And it was close to us. It was isolated, but yet there was a port that was pretty close to the village, and a ship docked that wasn't supposed to dock. It made an unscheduled dock, and some of the sailors came into the village and had intercourse with some of the women who were infected, and that's how the AIDS phenomenon broke out. And he said when he read that and realized what it was, he immediately put the paper back down where he found it, being the good Marine that he was, realized this was not for his eyes, had no idea why that was on his desk, whose it was, how it got there, anything. He read what he read, and as soon as he realized this wasn't for his eyes, this was something you shouldn't be seeing, he put it down and did not read the whole entire document. And of course my question was like, dude, I would have ran to the Xerox machine. That would have been the first thing that I did, but he didn't. So he puts it down, and he said the next day it was gone. And he doesn't know why it was where it was. Could be a practical joke. He's not ruling that out. He says someone could have been trying to play a practical joke on him, or it could have been meant for somebody else or whatever. He doesn't know, but he said the way that he found it, how it was written, what it came packaged in, and everything was very official about it. And he's never told anybody about that until he came on the show last year. Now there are thousands of people who know about it, So
did it have top secret stamped in red
no,
on top of it?
No. I don't believe it had top secret stamped in red on the top of it. We made a little joke about the top secret thing, because he had both of those guys who were guests that evening. They both had top secret clearances, and I myself worked for the Army. Was not in the Army, but I worked for the Army for 10 years.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell you some stories about that off the air. But I worked for the Army for 10 years, and I had a top secret clearance in my position, and I didn't do anything. You know, a top secret, something that says top secret, or if you have a top secret clearance, it doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of like I don't know, restraining orders. You know, they say they're not worth the paper that they're printed on. You know,
right.
Well, having a top secret clearance you don't have to be anybody. You don't have to be anything special important. It's just whatever position you have. You might, if you have the potential to see something that you shouldn't see, you're granted a top secret clearance as long as you pass all the background checks and stuff. And there's top secret, and there's top secret secret, and there's top secret secret, and it's just really weird. But
yeah, and I've heard above top secret.
Yes, there's stuff like that, and just top secret. That's just like the first rung on the ladder.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything really. So you know, even if it did have top secret stamped on it, which you're only gonna see in the movies, you know,
sure.
It really wouldn't have meant anything. And this guy is he's very level-headed. He's not one to make up just off-the-wall stories. I mean, sitting down and talking to him, you know, he comes across as very believable. And like I said, I had to really pressure him to get him to tell this story. And I didn't know that he was even going to tell it or not, you know, until
right.
it came out of his mouth. I mean, I really didn't know, and I was kind of sweating it there because we had talked about it, and he said, okay, I'll do it. And then he changed his mind in the middle of the show, and I was panicking because this was my show, you know.
Sure.
And he finally came out and did it, and turned out to be the most popular show of my first season on Live 365. So, you know, you can take that however you wanted it. Is it real? I don't know. He doesn't know, and he's not making any pretenses that it really was real. He says, this is what I saw. I read it. Take it however you want it. Because he says, I don't know if it was real or not. You know, it could have been a joke. It could have been whatever. I don't know. But that's his story.
But it's not too much of a stretch to accept that it might have been real.
No, I don't think it would be too much of a stretch at all. The only thing is, if, you know, I wish I could be a little bit more specific, but I don't want to get this guy in trouble, you know.
Sure.
But if you knew what his position was, where he was at, where he was stationed at, and what he did for the Marine Corps, why would that paper be anywhere on that military installation where he was at? Because it had no business even being on that Marine camp where he was located.
So it may have just been an accident or a joke.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet that there's probably not a lot of, I'm not going to say truth because he's telling what he knows, but as far as the document goes, I would be willing to bet that it was probably some sort of fabrication or something, or disinformation plan or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. You know, it could have been someone just screwing off. You know, but he comes across as very believable. And if he says this is, I believe he saw what he saw.
Right. Okay, now, you took an orb photograph at an ancient native Hawaiian cemetery in Maui.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that one.
Well, I went to Maui on vacation, and of course you're going to take your camera when you go on vacation. And the hotel that I was staying at was right down the road from a native Hawaiian cemetery, and this went back like a couple of 100 years. And was driving past it on the road. I stayed there for like a week, and would drive past it on the road all the time and see it. And I was like, I've got to go down there and see what this is all about. So I made a stop during the daylight hours, really brief, and got out, walked around, saw some interesting headstones, and decided I was going to go back later on in the evening when it got darker outside and take some orb photos. Well, a couple days later, or the next day, whatever, I finally got the chance to go back there, pitch black at night. And I just walked where I didn't have super genius that I am, didn't bring the flashlight. So I'm out there, in the dark trying to see where it was that I had mapped out earlier. So I'm stumbling and bumbling around out there, and I find what I think are the things that I want to take pictures of. And so I probably spent maybe half an hour out there. I mean, not very long at all. Trying to find I'm not going to say it was a huge cemetery, but it wasn't really, really small either, and it was right next to one of the main drags there, and so there was a lot of cars coming back, and I didn't want to be out there at 10 o'clock at night snapping photos with cars coming by, because I was really worried that the cops were going to, because I didn't even know if I should be in there or not. I didn't see any signs that said I couldn't, but I didn't see any signs that said I could either. So I was trying to get in and out as quickly and covertly as I could, and I didn't want the cops to come, people complaining about some dude snapping pictures because you got the flash. So I took several pictures of the different headstones in various locations, and this was with a digital. And one of them came back, had a small orb on it, and I don't know, you've got to rule things out when you find pictures of orbs. There's all kinds of things that it could be dust, it could be dirt, it could be water. I mean, they're just, the list goes on and on and on. You got to rule things out. And since it was so dark out there, it could have been dust that I kicked up, but it was kind of more like, that's all volcanic ash and everything out there anyway. The whole island is a big volcano. But it wasn't particularly dusty out there that evening. But it was a very small orb. I don't know if it's actually an orb from the cemetery or not. Now, the way I was taught through the IGHS was that if you're going to get a picture of an orb, they say orbs are everywhere, which my view, since I have gotten more into this, kind of my certifications might be with IGHS, but that's where it ends. I kind of don't. I'm way off from what they believe. And they say orbs are everywhere, especially at cemeteries, and I just don't buy a lot of what they say. But
there's no real experts. I mean, how do you become an expert in something that's unexplained?
Well, you should go to ghostweb.com, because they say that they're experts. And I kind of didn't talk about this at the first part of the show, but now's a good time to bring it up. There's a big controversy going on with the IGHS and TAPS, and I don't know about you. I'm sure you've seen the sci-fi show TAPS, and I don't know if you like the show or what your opinion of it is or not, but I think it's a pretty good show. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it is a show, okay? They get people kind of diss them a lot because of they go in and they investigate an area and they do it in one night, mm-hmm. And they say, okay, it's either haunted or it's not. Right. But you got to remember, this is a show, so they're doing this for the show. Sure. Whereas, real investigations sometimes can take several days. Yeah. But they're getting a lot of flack from the some people in the ghost hunting community. But I think that they're very professional, and I like the way that they approach their investigations. I mean, they've got state-of-the-art equipment that nobody is going to be able to. Yeah, they're going to have this good equipment. If someone gave you money to buy good equipment with, wouldn't you do it? Of course you would.
Also, this is a reality type show. This is not a made up show. I actually haven't seen the show.
Oh, you should check it out. Their investigative approach is they come in to debunk it. They try everything they can to prove that it's not haunted, and they're pretty successful at it. And they do have the occasions where they say, okay, yes, we think this place is haunted, or they'll say, we don't know, we need to do further investigation, because one night isn't going to get it. So there's some controversy going on with the IGHS and TAPS going back and forth. It's a nanny boo boo type thing. He said, she said type thing, and the International Ghost Hunter Society is very, very much anti-TAPS. And I'm not saying that I'm for TAPS or anything like that, or that I'm anti-IGHS, because they were kind enough to give me my certifications. You know, they allowed me to take their course and certify me. But just on my own, before I even heard of the Atlantic Paranormal Society.
You were already certified.
Exactly. Before I had even heard of TAPS, I was already distancing myself from the IGHS. I mean, I never became an official member or anything,
Right.
because I just don't agree with their views. And if you don't agree with the views of the IGHS, then you're a blankety-blank so-and-so.
Yeah.
And
I just don't
total,
see how you can
know,
get locked into one interpretation of something that you are, that's anomalous, that is not understood. How do you explain the unexplainable?
Yeah, and I'm always open. I mean, like I learned the whole reason that I got these certifications anyway was because I was doing this show. I got the certifications after I started my show on Alternicast. And the whole reason I got them was because I wanted to be creditable.
Right.
If I'm going to talk about these things, I figured I need to have the certifications, if I could get any, behind me to say
it
I should.
gives you some credibility that
Exactly.
at least you have pursued a course of legitimate study.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that even though there's no experts, you definitely can learn certain things. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
of course, the more answers you find, the more questions it leads to.
Uh-huh.
It's just an ever expanding thing. But
Yeah, and like I said, I just did it for the credibility, and I started developing. I got my basis from them, and at first it all made sense to me at first because this was what I was learning. This is what I was taught, and then as I have done more and more research and more investigating, I have totally just they're over here to the left, and I'm over here to the right, or vice versa, or whatever, and I just don't agree with what they say. Some things, yes. Most of the things, no. But they were kind enough to get me started, and they gave me the foundation and taught me how to actually do investigating and what I needed to do. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not anti-IGHS. I'm not pro-TAPS or anything like that. But there's just seems to be a big controversy going on between the two of them right now. It's a he said, she said thing, and all this other sorts of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, of course, everybody has their own interpretation of these phenomena, and there's just so many phenomena out there. It's easy to get them confused. I mean,
oh yeah,
and there may be phenomena that haven't even been documented yet, that people are yet to discover.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a slight break here, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to ask you about a very serious topic about dream contact that you've had with your deceased father.
I'd love to talk about that.
Okay. Here comes the promo. Maybe.
We're hoping. Have you ever wanted to spend the night in a haunted house? Have you ever seen a UFO? Have you ever witnessed something that you just can't explain? Are you interested in the paranormal? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you should listen to ParaReality Radio, where you'll learn about all of these things and more. ParaReality Radio is broadcast live right here on WRFN every second and fourth Friday of the month at midnight Central U.S. time. Join host The Sandman as he delves into the world of the paranormal, leaving no stone unturned, no topic off limits. ParaReality Radio is your best source for the latest in paranormal news and information. Be sure to check it out on the web at http://pararealityradio.tripod.com. Turn on, tune in, and find out.
You're listening to WRFN 98.9 FM. Low power for the people. Our guest is Sandman. Sandman, oh yes, we're going to ask if anyone is listening out there that you would call in if you have any questions or comments for our guest. And we're going to ask him about a sort of a serious topic here. He's had some dream contact with his deceased father, as well as contact with his deceased father through a medium.
Yes.
And this particular medium is going to be a guest on your show, ParaReality, October 21st.
Yes, right here on WRFN Live. Yeah.
Okay, well,
plug.
would you mind sharing those experiences?
Yeah. But before I do that, can you? I know there's people out there who are listening.
Right.
Let's give them the number, just in case they don't know it.
The studio line is 662-8229.
Area code 615.
Area 615. I don't think anybody's going to call long distance anyway.
Well, we can always hope.
Yeah.
We can always hope. I know that I've got some of my listeners some of my fans that are listening to the show. So, hey, call in. I hope you call in. We're inviting everyone to call in. We're really going to push this hard in the last. We have opened up the phone lines for your calling pleasure.
And you can really call in anytime.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you can go on the WRFM website just by searching Radio Free Nashville. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure, do you know the exact web address?
The web address is http radiofreenashville.org. There's no www. It's just radiofreenashville.org. At the bottom of the page, it lists the studio lines.
Right, and there's 2 studio lines, and basically the only one you need to know is 662-8229, area 615.
662-8229. Call in. Somebody call in.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, now tell us about these dreams, first of all, and then tell us about the medium.
Well, my father died. It's been over 10 years ago. Tragically, it was a very, very tragic thing, and he and I were very close. And I was in my very early 20s. Kind of give you an idea for how old I am. And this was probably maybe 5 years after he died, somewhere around in there, give or take a little bit. And I can't remember the entire dream because it's been so long, but I had a dream one night that basically I was trying to tell people of the world something. I had this important message that I was trying to tell people, and I would stand up on these like platforms, and it was almost like I was preaching a sermon. I would stand up on these platforms, and I would try and talk to them. I'd hold my hands in the air and wave my hands and pound my fist in my other hand, and no one would listen. Everybody was just doing their own thing and totally ignoring me. And I got to where I was going, please listen to me. Please listen to me. Just begging them, please listen to me. And they wouldn't. Nobody would listen to me. And I know this is a dream now. I know this sounds weird, but I would try and go different places on the earth to get people to listen to me. And how I would get there, I would travel underground like Bugs Bunny, the old Bugs Bunny cartoon where he'd burrow through the ground, I would go underground and try and get these people to listen to me. And I wound up in hell trying to get the people of hell to listen to whatever it was that I had to say. And I could not get anybody to listen to me. And I was panicking. I was going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? No one will listen to me. And my father appeared. And now I am now in hell. I don't think I'm dead. Somehow I just got there, and I'm trying to tell these people, these poor souls in hell, And my father is there, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he shook me a little bit, and he looked right in my eyes, and he said, "It's okay. It's all right. It's going to be all right." And this, I don't know if you dream in color or not, but there are people who dream in color. There are people who dream in black and white. And I've always dreamed in color. And, Tony, this was the most vivid, colorful dream that I have ever had in my whole entire life. And so real. The images were so real. I mean, everyone's had those dreams where you kind of wake up after the dream and you kind of or don't know if it was what happened was really real or not, and then this was, well, I mean, imagine that only like double or triple. I mean, it was as real as I'm sitting here talking to you right now. It was so vividly bright and rich in color and so real, and I'll never forget his eyes were just this bright blue, and I don't remember him in life having blue eyes, but he had these bright blue eyes, and he was going, it's okay, it's going to be okay. And I don't always remember my dreams. I'm one of those people, I may remember it first thing when I wake up in the morning, but it fades away very quickly. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm having trouble remembering the details of this dream, I still remember more of it than I do a lot of my other dreams. Right. This has been many years ago. And the next day, I kind of just had this big empty feeling inside of me the whole day. I mean, I was remembering this dream, and it was several days later. I was at my mother's house in the kitchen talking with her, and I can't remember how the subject of my dad got brought up, but we started talking about him, and I said, I had this really strange dream, and I have no idea what it means. And I told her about this dream, and she just really, she just broke down, started crying, and she said, that was she called him my daddy. She said, that was your daddy. He was trying to tell you something. And she called my aunt up and told her and about my dream, and my aunt said the very same thing, was that, he was trying to tell him something. And the more I thought about it, I was going through a very tough time in my life, a very difficult time in my life, and I really felt all alone. I felt that I had nobody that I could turn to, and basically just totally just depressed, And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, he was telling me that everything is going to be okay. And they say, whoever they are, I've done a little bit of research on this, not a lot, but a little bit, and what I have found out is that people, one way that the dead can contact you is through your dreams, because it's much easier that way. And the experts say that when they contact you, that you always have not only a very memorable experience, but is very real and lifelike. And that explains the vividness of the dreams and the color.
Right,
I do dream
lucid dream.
Yes. I mean, like I said, I do dream in color, but the colors are always very dull,
Right.
And this was like, gosh, it was so just. Did you ever see that movie with Robin Williams where he was in heaven looking for his wife or whatever, and all these bright colors? It was like that. That was the colors, of my dream. And I guess it was this past March, I had Mr. Rick Hayes, who is a psychic medium, as a guest on the show, and we ended the show with him doing. He was not with me in the studio. He was. It was a phone interview, and we ended with him doing what he calls a telesession, which is let me kind of back up here. Are you familiar with John Edwards?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does the same thing that John Edwards does.
Okay.
Only he doesn't have his own TV show. Okay.
Right.
And for those of you who don't know about John Edwards, he's a psychic medium who can talk to the dead. And Rick Hayes is the same thing. Same, very exact same thing, just without the show. And he did what he calls a telesession, which is where he talks to you on the phone and he tries to see if he can get stuff that way. And he did have some success. It didn't last very long. I would say it was a minor success, but a success nonetheless, that he was able to contact my father, and Rick was able to tell me some things, because you've always got to be very, at least the way my mind is.
Skeptical.
Yes. I myself, even though I do this show and everything, I am what I call an open-minded skeptic. Just because someone says, blah, 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 does not mean I'm going to automatically believe it,
Right.
And I was very skeptical, and it's not that I wanted, so much to believe, because, like I said, I was very skeptical, and I tried to be open about it. But he was able to tell me some things that he had no knowledge of. I've never met this man in person. I only talked to him on the phone and through email. Never have met him in person. And he knew things about me that there was no way he could know. No way at all he could know these things about me. And, he couldn't, it's not like he could go on the internet, search and put in my name and pop up,
very personal things that no one else could have known. So it had to either be that he really was talking to your father, or reading your mind, or he was getting the information from some valid source.
Yes. And he was able to kind of sort of answer a question for me. And how can I say this? When my father died, he had to have a closed casket funeral. He was a victim of an automobile accident,
right?
And we had to have a closed casket funeral because they just couldn't make him presentable.
Sure.
And he and my mother had been divorced for several years at this point in time, and he was remarried. And his his wife, I almost called her something else. I'm sorry. His wife.
We won't go. That's
no,
another show.
We will not go there. Now, his wife.
I'm bitter too, by the way.
His wife wanted him buried in his work uniform. And okay, I'll just say, my dad was he was in the medical profession. He was a paramedic for 25 years, and excuse me, he had the last 2 or 3 years of his life, he actually moved out of my hometown and moved somewhere different, and he had started working. Now his main profession was as a teacher. That was his main profession, and he did the paramedic thing on the side. And he had started working part-time with this ambulance service, and worked with him just for maybe a year or something like that, not very long. And she wanted him buried in the uniform of that service. And I was just livid. I was totally just dead set against it. I did not want him buried in that uniform. I wanted a suit and a tie. I mean, if he had to be buried in a uniform, I would have preferred for him to be buried in the uniform with the service that he spent 20 years with.
Right.
And she was just adamant that she wanted him buried in that uniform. And before we had the funeral, the funeral home director actually was not a close friend of my father's, but he knew him, and he knew that there was, I guess, some tension between me and his wife. And of course, she's next of kin, so she had all the legal rights to make all decisions. And he come up to me and said, would you like for me, it was just me and him, he said, would you like for me to open up the casket so you can, see your dad one final time, maybe say your goodbyes or whatever. And I said no, I didn't want to. And really I did, but I was scared that if he opened up that casket and I saw him in that uniform, I knew, and I mean this with every piece of my body, I knew that if I saw him in that uniform, there is nothing on the face of this planet that would have stopped me from choking the life out of her. I would have gone nuts. And so I did not look in the casket. And that's something that I've always wondered all of these years. And I asked him, was he buried in the uniform? And that's all I said. And his exact words were, I'm being told to tell you no. And of course you think, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, I'm getting the impression that I'm being told to tell you no, and that's all that I know. So, was my dad really buried in a uniform and he just said, Rick, you better tell him no before he goes nuts? Or did he get buried in a suit and tie? So I kind of have a little bit of peace about it, but there's still that cloud of uncertainty,
Right.
you know. And there were, like I said, there are lots of other things. Well, several other things that he knew about me that the only way you were going to know those things is if you had really known me, you know.
Right.
And he was able to tell me about how my dad was feeling about some of the things that I'm doing in my life currently. And one of my big regrets is that, you know, I never got to know my father as an adult man. You know, I was so young when he died. But it was really a very very touching show at the very end. I mean, I held it together, but
Right.
I did get pretty emotional there, and I don't know if we're going to try and do that again when he comes into here to the studio, but we'll see. But it made a believer out of me, and like I said, I'm pretty skeptical. Even though I do a show like this, I'm pretty skeptical, and he made a believer. I mean, if this guy would have known me for even if I had met him and for just a couple of weeks or something like that, if I had ever met him face to face and he had known just a little bit about me, I would still say maybe he's, you know, just doing it for show. But like I said, the closest I ever got to meeting him was on the telephone.
Yeah.
So
There's just no way he could have known those particular details.
There couldn't be. There just couldn't be.
He couldn't have done research on your life. I mean, unless he went and asked your mom or something.
Exactly. You know, and he knew, you know, some of the things about my dad's mannerisms and how he liked to dress and stuff, like when he got home from work, you know, and he just knew, you know, several things that just, I think he's got some sort of talent. Either that or he is a very, very good guesser. One of the two.
Well, he's definitely tapping into something.
I believe so.
I mean, whether it's direct contact with the actual spirit of your father, or he's just, you know, picking up on information from the universal consciousness or whatever's out there. Either way, he was picking up on some real information.
He's got some sort of talent, definitely.
Okay, now your journey with all of this paranormal stuff,
yes,
actually began a long time ago, and in fact, it became a quest.
Yeah, you could say that.
At the age of 10 or 11, somewhere.
It was somewhere between 9, 10, 11, something like that. I can't remember.
Okay,
exactly.
How did it all begin?
Well, I was an only child. Didn't have any brothers or sisters or anything like that. And I had a spend the night party with one of my childhood friends. Went over to his house, and he had bunk beds. And I thought that was just the neatest thing ever. So I begged my parents for like a year, please get me bunk beds. Oh, what do you need a bunk bed for? You know, there's no one to share it with. But finally, I guess they got tired of hearing me whine and everything. They brought me bunk beds. So I was happy. I could sleep on the top. I could sleep on the bottom. It was great. So you're thinking, why in the heck are you telling me this story? Well, here we go. This is it's very important for you to know this, because one night I was sleeping, and it was one of those times where I decided to sleep on the top bunk. So I had a very nice view of my room. And, excuse me, I have always, since I was a child, woken up several times I usually wake up 2 or 3 times during the night. I never, just go to sleep and sleep for a solid 8 or 9 hours. I always wake up at least twice during the night. And it was one of those times I was sleeping and I just woke up, and I have no idea what time it was. But I remember lying there in bed, and like I said, I was on the top bunk, so I had a nice, good, clear view of my room. And my mother and father's room, my parents' room, was across the hall from me. And we were the type of family, we didn't close doors in our house, and so my bedroom door is open, their bedroom door is open. And my mother cannot sleep unless there is a nightlight somewhere on. She can't sleep in total darkness, so she always had a nightlight burning in the hall. So not only was I up high, but I had light to see as well. And I heard something coming out of my parents' room. And I just, naturally being a kid, I assumed it was my mother, either getting up to go to the bathroom, or sometimes during the night she would come and check on me, make sure I was okay. The only child, mother, thing, you know.
Overprotective.
Yes, extreme. And so I thought it was my mother, you know, coming out of the bedroom, because this was when I was a kid. This was a long time ago. And you're familiar.
This was at the turn of the century.
Yes, yeah. You were familiar with shag carpeting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you remember the shag carpeting, excuse me again, you know that when you walk on it and you have bare feet, it makes a particular squishing kind of sound. You know, and we had, unfortunately, shag carpeting in the house at this time, and I heard what sounded like bare feet walking on shag carpeting. It was making that kind of a squishing sound, and it was kind of like, you know, and I heard this. It was very slow
That was
and
very
distinct.
good, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Sound Effects. That's me.
Do that again.
Okay, I will. So they were making very distinct, slow walking movements, and it was like, there we go.
Very good.
Thank you. And it was coming out of my parents' room. Thought it was my mom. I'm lying there waiting to see her, and the steps get closer and closer and closer, and it sounds like they come out of my parents' room, cross the hall, and stop right at the threshold of my door. Still, I'm not seeing anything. Night light shining. I'm up high. Got a good view of everything. I'm not seeing anything. And then something made a noise. Here's some more sound effects for you. Made a noise that sounded just like this, Tony. It went and turned and walked down the hall. Just kept on going down the hall. And I have no idea to this day what in the hell that was. It wasn't my mother. It wasn't my father. I had no brothers or sisters. There was no one else in the house but the three of us. I did have a dog. Was not the dog. I could see.
Did you see anything? Did you see?
I saw nothing. I mean, I could see, like I said, I had plenty of light to see because of that night light in the hall. I could see my door frame, my parents' door frame. I could see the floor from where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
I could basically see pretty much, you know, my whole entire room. I didn't have that big of a room, you know, and we had a small house, and I saw nothing. There was nothing there. I don't know what it was. It's not, there wasn't someone who lived in the house that died there before us. My mother, and she bought that house brand new. I was born like 3 days after she bought it. She still lives in that house today. There's never been anyone but my mother, my family living in that house. So it's not that someone owned it and died or whatever.
Right.
I don't know the history of the land.
It's not a residual effect.
I would love to be able to know the history of the land. The only thing I have been able to find out was that it was some sort of farmland, and I actually know I actually know the wife of the man whose family owned it. He's dead, and she's so old it's pathetic, you know. But I know her, and you know, I was able to talk to her a little bit, and she doesn't really know, you know, much. But there's not a cemetery, I don't think, that's there. That, you know, we were built on top of an Indian sacred ground or anything like that. I mean, and that's the only incident that's ever happened in that house, as far as I know. I never had anything happen to me in that house since then, and as far as I know, my mother has never had anything like that happen to her. My dad never said anything, so I don't know what it was, but that's what sparked my interest in the paranormal. I've never forgotten that, because I wasn't. Oh my gosh, the phone is ringing.
Well, let's answer it.
Let's
see if we
see if we can get a call.
Go ahead, caller. Hello?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're speaking to Tony Pratt and Sandman. Do you have a question? Okay, go ahead.
I can't. I'm not hearing. No.
Okay, try again.
Nope. Still nothing.
No? Is this the right?
Let me see.
I'm turning everything up and...
Let's try that button.
Okay, we got to push the right button here. Okay, I think we got you now. What's your name?
Jenny.
What is your question for Sandman?
For the experience in his room,
Yes.
was it more of being scared or felt like you were being protected or...
Well, thank you very much for your question. And you said your name was Jenny?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your question, Jenny. I appreciate you calling in. I was just about to tell Tony this. It wasn't that I was scared to the point where I felt panicked or anything. I was just more creeped out. You know, I didn't know what this thing was, and I was just very, very creeped out, and I did have a very difficult time going back to sleep after that. But I didn't ever feel like my life was in danger or that there was something there trying to cause harm to me. I just didn't know what it was, and I really, really, really was just, I mean, you know, the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up type thing, but I never felt like I was going to, you know, have any harm caused to me or anything like that. I just think that whatever this thing was, it just walked in and just maybe some sort of passing by spirit or something. It just wanted to see what was going on. You know, I don't know. I didn't have, it wasn't like it was a close relative of mine that might have died, because I didn't have any close relatives that had died at that time. If it, you know, maybe my grandfather had died, I would say, well, maybe it was his spirit coming to check on me. But you know, no one that I knew was dead. I didn't have any close relatives that were dead. So I don't know what this thing was.
Where are you calling from, Jenny?
I'm in California.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Cool. You're the first caller ever. Well, actually the second one, but it was a scheduled caller that we had on Paranormal Nashville. So we appreciate your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jenny, you hold a record. Thanks for calling in.
Wow, yeah, that just shows if our listeners heard, the phone ring, that indicates how low tech we are here at WRFN.
It freaked me out right there, I'll tell you, man. Woo.
I mean, I thought the light would flash. You know, I didn't know that it was actually going to ring. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's supposed to flash, don't you?
I think it's supposed to, but we're working on a new phone system there.
And Jenny, thanks again for calling in. And now she's not afraid to call in, so don't anyone else be afraid to call in. Give us a buzz.
Right, and she called all the way from California. That was amazing.
Yes.
So I guess that blew my theory of nobody's going to call long distance here. Of course, she may have a few minutes on her phone. There might have been. I don't think that sounded like a cell phone. That sounded pretty clear.
Yeah, who knows? It's California, man.
Okay, I got a question for you, Sandman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how did you get the moniker Sandman? I mean,
you
don't really use your secret identity. You never reveal who you really are, do you?
I'll tell you. You know, I told you that I worked for the Army for 10 years, and I held top secret clearance. And knowing what I know about the Army, about what I was involved in, if the government ever found out who I really was, they would send the CIA mind spies and assassinate me. I'm just kidding. I wish you could see the look on your face. You were like, oh, my God, he's totally nuts. What have I done? No, I am totally kidding. I'm sorry.
Hey, you got me on that one. Yeah. I had a shocked look on my face.
You did. That was priceless.
We are off the deep end now.
I wish I had my camera, because you should have put that up on your website. No, really, I'll tell you why I just knew you were going to ask me that. I don't know why, but I just knew you were going to ask me that. And that's why I came up with this CIA mind spy story.
You had planned that, hadn't you?
Yes, I did. I really did. And I did a good job to keep from laughing too, because I was this close to busting.
Yeah, you're a pretty good actor.
Thank you.
Not too many people fool me.
No, really. I wanted to get a theme show, or a theme song for my show whenever I first got on the air.
Right.
And I can't even remember now why I picked the Enter Sandman by Metallica, but I I just thought it would fit in. You know, I like the rock and roll music, you know, and I thought it would kind of fit in because you're talking about, you know, Sandman and it's stuff from Dreams and blah blah blah. You know,
Right.
I just kind of thought, I guess that would fit in, and you know, the name of the songs, Enter Sandman, and I thought, well, why not? I mean, I was looking for, it was a gimmick. I was looking
Right.
for that gimmick to set me off from other people.
So this wasn't because that you're ashamed of the topics that you're discussing. Or
No,
ashamed to
no.
admit, you know?
No, not at all, not at all. It just started out as a gimmick to kind of set me apart. Like I said, the reason I chose to do the Paranormal Talk Show was because I wanted something different than
Right.
everybody else, and that just seemed to fit. And so I thought, well, what the heck, I'll do it. And the people that picked me up from Alternicast that followed me over to Live 365, that's how they knew me. So, excuse me, I just kept the
going,
name
yeah.
Sandman, and it kind of, I've
And
had,
it's easy to remember. I
yeah,
mean,
it is. I've had people, you know, email me and ask me, you know, stuff and post stuff on the forum and everything, and you know, why you use Sandman? Why don't you, you know, use your real name or whatever, or make up some sort of different name?
Right.
But you know, it just kind of stuck, and it actually, I've been told by some people that it kind of adds to the mysteriousness, the mystique of the whole thing. So I'm just going to stick with it, you know, and you know, maybe one day you'll hear me, you know, like Howard Stern or whatever. I'll be syndicated from coast to coast or whatever, you know.
Sure.
And,
That'd
you'll
be great.
hear, but of course that's, you know, that's pipe dreams. But still, you know, we got to start. Like I said, I've got a moderate success with the show. And
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, you never know where it's going to lead. I mean,
no, I'm actually, like I said,
there's not that many people doing this. It's not that easy, especially these topics.
No, and these shows, they pop up. I really did I thought that, oh boy, I've got something unique here. You know, well, I was wrong. I really was. There was a lot of people that are doing these type of shows. But the thing about it is, Tony, is they come and they go. You'll hear them, and they'll last for a little bit, and then they go away. Because exactly what you said, it's hard to do this.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to do a talk show where you make prank phone calls and joke and talk about sports and stuff like that. That's not that hard. You know, when you're dealing with stuff like this, you got to do your research.
Absolutely.
We're not Art Bell or George Norrie. We don't have a crack staff of research people. You know, we write, produce, direct, and host our own shows.
Of course, Art Bell didn't have any. I mean, George Norrie has a crack staff, and you know all the whistles and bells to go with it. But Art Bell really pretty much did his own thing, and when he takes callers, the people just call in, he picks up the phone, you know, just like we just did.
Just like we did, yeah.
Now, one of the most popular segments on your show is called News of the Strange.
Yes, it is.
And it's not necessarily limited to just paranormal topics.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, it started out totally not being anything about paranormal. And the way that it came about was when I, back in my Alternicast days, I can't even remember what the show was that I did. I wish that I would have had the capability, but none of my Alternicast shows exist anymore. I didn't have the capability to archive them or anything because I really didn't know what I was doing back then like I do now. And so I kind of wish that I would have had some of those old shows because it would be great to play a clip or something. But I was doing a show, can't even remember what it was on, and when I prepared for it and everything, I knew that I wasn't going to have enough time. Or excuse me, I knew that I wasn't going to have the material to fill the time slot. So I was trying desperately to think, what can I do to fill up the rest of this time here? So I started looking for stuff to fill up the time, and I just happened to run across a copy of the Nashville Scene. And, they've got that little thing called News of the Weird in there. And I just read this story that was just, I can't remember what it was. It was just totally just off the wall. Of course, that's why they call it News of the Weird.
Right.
So I'm like, I think I'll do this. So I actually got on the internet and started looking up some stories. And what really got it was there was some story about some kid who was like, he was either masturbating on the school bus or in class or something like that, and got expelled or something. I mean, it was some weird, just off the wall story that you just don't hear. And I just kind of, when I started reading this story, this was going to be a one-time thing, just as a filler. And that's what I told everybody. I got it. I'm going to do this filler material. Read you these weird news stories right here. I wasn't even called News of the Strange. I just got these weird news stories I'm going to read, and nothing had to do with the paranormal at all.
Right.
And when I read that one about that I was just telling you about, I just started just going off, just totally off the cuff, just giving this commentary about it, and I got so much response out of it. People were just dying. They thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
And they wanted more, and so they kept saying, do more, do more. And I would do it every once in a while, and I always got a good response. And finally, I just so many people were emailing me and saying, "Oh, you're so funny," and that was it's true. What you're saying is so true, and somebody else besides me thinks this way, and blah blah blah. And so I said, well, I'll just end my shows with these strange news things, and I'll call it News of the Strange.
Right.
And because none of my stuff that I report about is really newsworthy material. It's all off the wall stuff. And so I started doing this News of the Strange, and everybody just loved it. And then I decided, well, I thought it was we talk about some pretty deep subjects here, and that's kind of a good way to, relax your brain.
Up, yeah.
End on a light note like that. And it seems to work pretty good. Everybody seems to like it. And I thought, I really need, if I'm going to do a little news segment, I really need to do some stories about the paranormal stuff. So I changed my format a little bit, and I stick to four news articles just for time constraints. And I always, my lead stories always has something to do with the paranormal. And then the other three are just some weird off the wall, weird stuff.
Can you recall any of the more strange ones?
Yes, I can.
Okay, give us some tidbits.
Probably about the funniest thing that I can think of, right off the top of my head, was this little boy. He's Asian, somewhere in one of those Asian countries. I can't remember exactly. I think it was Japan or China or something. It's irrelevant.
Right.
He spent the first 13 years of his life thinking he was a girl, and his parents thought he was a girl. And the only way that they found out that he was not a girl was that when he was watching TV with his parents and a pretty girl came on the television screen, he started to have, quote unquote, a reaction down there. And we know what that means. Okay?
What kind of a reaction?
That would be an erection, Tony.
But how did he not notice?
Well, that was the whole thing.
Something that could become erect.
That was the whole thing. He had some rare birth defect where his male genitalia wasn't very formed.
So he had a small penis.
And I guess not very well-defined testicles either, or pretty much non-existent. I don't know. It was some birth defect that he had that was very rare. That had to be surgically corrected. But he spent the first 13 years of his life thinking he was a girl, and his parents thought he was a girl. And, my whole thing is, how can you not know that your child is one sex or the other? How can you not know? And if you're the child, how can you not know what sex you are? Especially if you start having these happenings down there, quote unquote. How can you not know? And just think of the embarrassment that this kid has. I mean, he spent 13 years of his life, the first 13 years of his life, thinking he was a girl. His parents probably had his hair long. He probably went to school in dresses and his hair in pigtails, went in the women's room to go to the bathroom.
This would make the ultimate reality show.
Yes. And, how did they, what is he's on school break or whatever for the summer, and he comes back and now he's a boy? How do you explain that to your classmates?
I think it's time to change schools.
It's time to move. Yes, exactly. And
let's leave town, Mom and Dad.
Hey, let's go where no one knows us at all. How do you get over that? Because we were just talking at the first of the show about how that's a time of your life where you're in a lot of turmoil and,
Sure.
and angst and everything. Can you imagine if when you were 13 and you thought you were a male and all of a sudden you find out you're not?
Well, that would be a different story, though, in an Asian country particularly, because I think maybe it was a good thing. They now have a son.
I guess so.
Which they prefer over daughters.
But will we be able to reproduce, though?
Yeah, there's so many unanswered questions.
but a lot of unanswered questions. That's the example of some news stories that I do, and that's just the first one that came off top of my head there.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Glad. See, that's why I do it like that, because I bring some joy to people's lives. And and for months, I didn't even. I never had a website, and I just had an email address, and I started getting so many. What's your website address? And I don't have one. Well, you should get one. And so I got an email address. I got a website. And so now I had this website that I try and maintain, and then the News of the Strange thing has become such a popular thing. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's why a lot of people actually listen to the show, so they can get to the end and hear the News of the Strange. I really do, because I get so much. I have fans that send me these weird stories, and put this on, and I think that people really, really love it. So I had to add a News of the Strange section onto my website where people can see the stories that I'm going to report on. But no one knows what I'm going to say, because we're not FCC regulated on the internet, so I can say whatever I want to say. And I usually just go off on these things. I don't have a script or anything. Just whatever's at the top of my head.
So you do a show every other week on Live 365.
Oh boy, yeah, this gets confusing. This confuses everybody.
But you do the show here,
yeah,
on opposite weekends. So you're doing a show every week.
Every Friday, yes.
Every week. So that's I'm only doing a show every other Friday right now, and sometimes it's still hard to prepare.
Don't do a show every Friday.
I'm in grad school right now, and I'm a little busy, but still, that's a lot of.
Look, if you enjoy having a life, don't do a show every Friday. Really don't. It's very hard. And to be perfectly honest with you, the only reason that I'm here at WRFN is because this was an opportunity that I had to come to. I was going to say commercial radio. This isn't really commercial
radio station.
Yeah, this was like I said at the top of the show. This was something I always wanted to do since I was a kid, was be a DJ. And I've been kind of doing it. You do it on the internet. You're still a DJ, but you're not coming in. You don't have all these nice gadgets and this soundboard and all this other stuff that you can play with. You can get it, but I ain't got the money for that. Right. And I'm not going to sink that into to my talk show, but I can come here and do it. And I had this opportunity that the owner of WRFN was nice enough to give to me. And so really, I do a show every Friday now, and it confuses everybody because I've got the WRFN show, and then I have my Live 365 show. Well, one's at one time, one's at another time. What days do you do the Live 365? When's the WRFN? I try and keep it separate as much as I can. And if you go to my website, which is http://pararealityradio.tripod.com, if you go to my website and check it out, it's totally towards my internet-only show. It's totally towards the Live 365. You won't find anything that has to do with WRFN. And people want to know about the WRFN shows, but
that's not true. I saw something mentioning WRFN on there.
You'll see on
just one little blurb on
on my homepage. Yes, I do. I do let everybody know. But as far as what the shows are going to be about or my
Right.
news segments or anything. It's totally geared towards my internet show. And like I said earlier, if I had someone to do the website for me, I could get it. I could update it every week. But it's me. You know, I've got to do all the research. I got to host the show. I got to produce the show. You know, I got to
Right.
get the music together for the show, and I got to run the website. And I just can't update it every week. Plus, I got this newsletter that I send out, and I can't do everything every
But I
week.
think having it on WRFN does lend some credibility to it. You know, no matter, I mean, because if it's just strictly an internet show, people will just kind of categorize it as, well, that's just an internet thing. A guy sitting at his house, you know, with a microphone on his computer, right? But it makes it seem that it's more authentic. I mean, it's really no different. I mean, you're broadcasting, but
Yeah, well, we're broadcasting over the internet here. I mean,
right.
That's how we got the girl from California.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that because I've picked up, I've got over 1,200 listeners from my internet show.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the RFN. Now, I'm sure I know that some of them have started listening to my broadcast here on WRFN since I've been on here, but and I'm sure I have picked up some people from my internet show off of listening from WRFN.
Right.
But you know, the majority of these people found it on the internet, and I know where you're coming from. But I think I'm going to just respectfully disagree with you on that topic right there, because something's going on for me to have that many people, and like I said, I have been around on Live 365. I'm winding up my second year, and like I said earlier, a lot of people, they come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and go, and there's so many talk shows like this around, but there's not very many that stick around.
Right.
And that's one thing that I'm hoping you will do here at WRFN is stick around, you know, because we need, this genre needs more legitimate people.
It's like that one advantage it does give, a hub where that people can come to pick and choose what programs they're interested in listening to. So therefore that kind of gives you an audience in itself.
Yeah.
All right, we've got just about 15 minutes left. I was listening to one of your programs, and you did a program on Spring.
Oh, yeah.
Now tell us about Bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Spring Hill Jack came along about, and he was actually a well, they don't know what the heck he was. There's several theories, but this guy would jump from, now this was in London, obviously, and he would jump from like rooftop to rooftop, or jump over these big high stone or brick walls, just clear them in one single leap, and he would attack women. And he never, there's never any actual cases that I found of where he caused any permanent damage to anyone or raped a woman or anything. But he would jump out at women and like molest them, you know, like he was famous for grabbing their breasts, and would kind of say some lewd comments and everything, and everybody always managed to get away from him, apparently. And he also had the ability to shoot like this kind of like a blue flame or something, and he did get one lady in the eyes with his flame, and it temporarily blinded her. It was more like a gas than it was an actual flame, the way she described it. It temporarily blinded her, but she regained her eyesight. And that's the only case that I found where anyone was actually physically harmed like that. But he had like a costume on, and he had a W on his chest, kind of like the S for Superman, you know, but he had a W. And there was a couple of instances where he came up to people's door, knocked on the door, and tried to attack people, and they called him Spring Hill Jack because of his ability to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Right, he could jump like 25 feet high.
It was some
higher.
phenomenal from a standing position, and he was seen jumping from the steeples of churches off of the steeple onto the ground, and people would go. These crowds of people would see him up on the steeple, and he'd just be making all kind of racket and all kind of noise, and then he would jump off, and this crowd would go to where they thought he landed, expect to see some dude dead, and then the next thing you know, they look behind him where, and this dude's jumping off over a wall, over a house, just laughing hysterically. And they never knew who this person was or what he was, and of course, there's all kind of theories, and one of them, of course, is that he was an alien who crash-landed here on Earth and was stranded, and another popular theory was that he was a local noble person who was kind of cuckoo.
And didn't he have some strange clothes on, like a weird hat or
coat
type thing?
He had some sort of helmet-looking thing, and it was either I can't remember now off the top of my head. I'd have to refer back to some notes, but it was either a cape-like thing or a long coat. I can't remember which one it was now right off the top of my head. I believe he was described as having both.
Was the hat silver?
Yeah, it was some sort of like helmet type metallic looking thing, and the W on his chest was just happened to be the initial of the nobleman. His name, or maybe it was an M. I forget now. I said
Right.
W, but maybe it was an M. I have to look at my notes.
That is a strange story.
I've done so many stories over the past couple of years. I had to look at my notes sometime to refresh myself with some of these things. That was actually somebody suggested that I do a story on that. One of my listeners, I can't remember who it was right off the top of my head, but one of my listeners suggested I do a story on Spring Hill Jack, and I'd heard of Spring Hill Jack, but I just heard of it. I did some research. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good story, so I went with it. That's how I get some of my good shows. Is just people call in or write in and say, hey, why don't you do a show on this? And sometimes I will, and if it sounds like it's a good enough show, yeah.
Now, we met under kind of strange circumstances.
Yeah, we
to
did.
say the least. Sandman walks in one night, and I'm sitting here doing his show.
Yeah.
And he's like, who the hell are you?
And you were like, who the hell are you?
And it was a little scheduling mishap, to say the least. But we worked things out. I don't know if this had been like, he was doing a Republican show and I was doing a Democrat show, and he came in. I don't think we would maybe have got along as well as we did, but I think that's something to say about the paranormal community is everyone that I've met, so far has been just super cool and easy to deal with, and but we got our scheduling conflicts worked out, and in fact we rescheduled this month, so that we could work out, because we had guests scheduled at different weird times, and so we may have to do that at some other point when we have guests that we need to come in that can't come on a particular day or whatever, but hopefully in general we won't have to go through that again.
No, I think we've got everything worked out right now. I mean, we seem to be on a pretty good schedule.
Yeah, I'm on odd Fridays of the month, and plus that makes it simpler for me, because the way it was when I was on even Fridays, which I didn't know I was on even Fridays, then and if there's a fifth Friday of the month, then I do it, because you're already overburdened with all the shows you got to do.
Yeah, that's tough.
Then that would make me doing back-to-back shows, which I'll still end up doing a back-to-back show, but it'll be the fifth and then the first.
Yeah.
So it still comes out like it's still the odd Fridays of the month, and it's also easier to explain when I'm on.
Yeah, you
listeners.
you can pretty much get a schedule on. That's one of the things that can confuse people who like to listen to my shows. That which Friday is it now? What show are you doing this week? And that's why I try and just keep the one of the reasons, not the total reason, but one of the reasons why I try and keep my website geared just towards my Live 365 show, and let everybody just mainly deal with that show, and they know I have some stuff about WRFN, and everybody knows I send out a newsletter a couple of times a month. Everybody knows when my WRFN show is, so I kind of let the website just deal with just one show. I think if I started trying to do it with this week's show is WRFN and here's my topic, I think it would just start really just confusing the heck out of people. So the main reason is because I don't have the time. But another reason is that.
Okay, I want to end the show by asking you a bizarre off-the-wall question, which I have asked a couple of my guests, and that is, do you believe that we live in an infinite universe or a finite universe?
Wow, that's pretty deep. It's funny you should mention that because I was watching a show not too long ago about the expansion of the universe. And the theory was that the universe should be slowing down because of the effects of gravity. And they've done some mathematical calculations with the stars and the planets and all this other sorts of stuff, and they have found out that the universe is not slowing down. It's doing the opposite. It's speeding up. And the whole theory beforehand was that gravity is going to pull everything back together and the universe is eventually going to collapse on itself. Well, now they're having to rethink this because it's doing something they totally thought the scientists thought it was not doing, which is speeding the heck up. So what's going to happen is everything's going to start getting further and further and further apart, and we're not going to, I mean, heck, things are far enough apart now. You know, the closest galaxy to us is how many, light years away?
Alpha Centauri, right.
How many hundreds of light years away is that? Imagine it being double or triple. That's why we're probably never ever going to find if there's life on other planets, because I don't know if we're ever going to have the technology. I mean, Star Trek is nice, but is it feasible? So
Right.
I think that we pretty much live in an infinite universe.
Yeah, I think the reason maybe that it's speeding up, they recently discovered a black hole in Alpha Centauri. And so it might be drawing us more rapidly in that direction. That might be a possible explanation.
Could be.
Well, Sandman, I want to thank you for joining us on
I have had a great
Paranormal
time.
Nashville, and we're going to close the show now. This is WRFN 98.9 FM, low power for the people.
Low power for the people, baby.
What am I doing?
I do not
know. Here we go. We're out of here. Maybe.
This will work. Good night, everybody.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.